The auditorium at the University of Washington fell deathly silent as my stepfather, Richard Harlan, rose from his seat during the family acknowledgments portion of my MBA graduation ceremony. I had just crossed the stage moments earlier, clutching my diploma and the Dean's Award for Academic Excellence, my heart still racing from the applause that had washed over me like a long overdue wave of validation. Nearly 200 people packed the hall, classmates, professors, proud families waving flowers and signs. But in the third row, my mother Catherine sat with that familiar nervous smile, while Richard checked his phone with barely concealed boredom. My stepsister Sophia live-streamed the whole thing on her phone, narrating in her bubbly voice for her followers. Richard cleared his throat, his voice carrying that practiced charm he reserved for clients and boardrooms. Well, everyone, Alexandra here has certainly shown persistence. A few polite chuckles rippled through the crowd, mistaking his tone for affectionate teasing. Graduating with her MBA is quite the accomplishment, I suppose. Though I should probably warn any potential employers watching today. He paused, letting the silence build, that cruel half-smile spreading across his face. The room shifted uncomfortably. Alex's book's smart, I'll give her that. But in the real world, she's as practical as a chocolate teapot. Lives in the clouds with her spreadsheets and theories. No real understanding of how business actually works. Success isn't about grades or scholarships. It's about relationships. Knowing the right people. Playing the game. Laughter erupted. Awkward at first, then louder as he warmed to his audience. My face burned. My hands trembled so violently I nearly dropped the diploma folder. Professors who had mentored me stared in open shock. One classmate's parent whispered loudly enough for me to hear, "Is that really her father?" Richard continued, raising his water bottle in a mocking toast. "I've tried teaching her about real estate, investments, how money truly moves. But she insists on her little academic dreams. Merit alone won't open doors, folks. She'll learn the hard way, probably prefers it difficult and alone." More laughter echoed. He sat down satisfied, as if he'd delivered the highlight of the evening. Sophia captured it all. Her Instagram story exploding with views. OMG. Dad is savage. Family roast truth hurts grad day. The comments poured in fast. I don't remember standing or walking out. 1 second I was frozen in my seat, throat closed tight. The next I was in the parking lot gasping for air beside my beat-up Honda. The Seattle rain misting my graduation gown. Messages flooded my phone. "Are you okay? That was messed up. Your stepdad is a jerk." But one text cut through everything from Jessica Kane, my old study partner, now a rising star in estate and fraud law. "Just saw Sophia's post. That wasn't cruelty, Alex. That was calculated. Call me tonight. We need to talk." I sat there watching happy families stream past, balloons bobbing, photos snapping. Something inside me finally shattered. The 14 years of biting my tongue, swallowing humiliation, maintaining dignified silence. Richard thought he'd won, publicly defining me as the worthless stepdaughter in front of everyone who mattered to my future. He thought I'd shrink away again. He was wrong. That night, in my tiny studio apartment near campus, still in my gown, I dialed Jessica with shaking fingers. She answered immediately. "Alex, I've been waiting. That post went viral in our network. Listen, what Richard did fits a pattern. There's more here, isn't there?" Jessica wasn't just any attorney. At 29, she'd built a reputation as a relentless investigator of financial abuse cases. We'd bonded in undergrad over late-night study sessions, and she knew bits of my family hell. It all poured out: the years of exclusion, the daily digs, the way he'd turned my mother into a silent shadow. But then I mentioned the land my late father had left me. Acres on the Washington coast held in trust until I turned 25. Richard's been managing it as family property. Mom said. Jessica's tone sharpened. Send me everything, your dad's will. Trust docs. Any records. Alex. A step-parent can't just manage or transfer irrevocable trust property like that. I dug through boxes for hours, unearthing my father's obituary, legal notices, and a key letter from his attorney referencing the irrevocable trust established for me. Alexandra Reed. Jessica called back near dawn. Preliminary search shows a transfer recorded 2 years after your mother's remarriage. Coastal land valued now at over $11 million shifted from the trust to Harlan Development Group, LLC. This looks like fraud. Alex. And there's more. She sent a screenshot. 4 loans totaling $4.2 million originated in my name over recent years, tied to speculative projects through Richard's company. Forged signatures. My credit ruined without my knowledge. If he forged docs, this crosses into federal territory, identity theft, wire fraud. My world tilted. Every tax form he'd helped with, every insurance document, every moment he'd accessed my info while tearing down my confidence. I can't afford you, Jess. I wait tables. Have barely any savings. She laughed softly. Contingency. My firm takes 30% of recovery. We're not just getting your assets back, we're destroying his reputation. He humiliated you publicly. We're making him pay. The next morning, I began playing the defeated daughter at family dinners, eyes downcast, while secretly recording every conversation, Washington being a one-party consent state. Richard's contempt had always been casual cruelty, designer clothes and luxury cars for Sophia, hand-me-downs and bus passes for me. When I aced exams, he'd sneer about meaningless academic success without social capital. My full-ride scholarship to UW? Charity case. My mother whispered the same refrain. He's providing. Alex. Be grateful. But gratitude for a roof never justified dignity stripped bare. By week's end, Jessica brought in forensic accountant Daniel Rivera, ex-IRS, who traced layered transactions siphoning my trust through shell companies. Classic laundering to obscure theft, he explained, showing quarterly moves landing in Richard's holdings. I photographed documents from his home office during absences, hands shaking, copying files to a hidden drive. The rage crystallized into ice-cold focus. Richard had stolen my father's last gift while calling me a burden. Now, the hunter would become prey. The breakthrough recording came during a 4th of July barbecue at the Harlan estate overlooking Lake Washington. Richard, whiskey in hand, held court with investors by the infinity pool. I lingered in the kitchen, phone recording discreetly. The key to real wealth, he slurred, is leveraging every asset. Take my stepdaughter Alex. She doesn't even realize she's funded my latest coastal development for years. $4.2 million in loans. And she thinks her credit's clean. That's the difference between winners and losers. We see opportunity where they see obstacles. His partner shifted uncomfortably, but Richard pressed on. Her father left worthless scrubland on the coast. I put it to productive use, a $28 million resort site now. That's creating value. My blood ran cold. The land my father cherished, meant for me, now paved over for his profit. I slipped away, pulse thundering, adding the confession to our growing arsenal. Jessica's team uncovered 38 forged documents, $180,000 in unauthorized credit charges in my name, emails plotting to delay my discovery past statutes of limitations, even a suspicious life insurance policy on me with Richard as beneficiary. This is sociopathic premeditation, Jessica said grimly. He's planned this since the wedding. Family dinners became theater. I'd smile tightly as Richard mocked my job search. You'll end up teaching somewhere mediocre. Sophia understands networking. She's meeting the city council for her lifestyle brand. Sophia preened. I recorded it all, letting him believe he'd broken me. You're right, Richard. I've learned from you, documenting every lesson thoroughly. Uncertainty flickered across his face before he laughed it off. By late September, we had airtight evidence. Bank trails showing $2.1 million drained from my trust. Identical forgeries across documents even novices could spot. Taped admissions. Jessica prepared the filing. But I wanted more than quiet justice. His October 12th shareholder meeting at the Four Seasons announces the big coastal project, 300 investors. Media. Built partly on my stolen land and loans. Jessica's smile turned sharp. Nuclear option? Expose him there. He humiliated me publicly. Fair's fair. October 12th dawned clear over Seattle. The ballroom buzzed with Seattle's elite, venture capitalists, journalists, shareholders eager for Richard Harlan's $70 million coastal resort announcement. I stood at the back with Jessica, Daniel, a trusted reporter from the Seattle Times, and a videographer Richard himself had approved for Family Archives. Richard took the stage in his tailored suit, silver hair gleaming, screen behind him displaying resort renderings. Harlan Development stands at our pinnacle achievement. This resort will redefine Washington's coast. Applause swelled. Then my voice sliced through fraud. 300 heads turned. Richard's face drained of color. Alex, this is private. Nothing about you is private anymore. I walked the aisle. Jessica, at my side. I'm Alexandra Reed, his stepdaughter. These folders contain evidence, forged signatures transferring my $11 million inherited coastal property to this project. For $0.2 million in fraudulent loans in my name, $2.1 million embezzled from my trust. Security moved, but Jessica flashed credentials. Shareholders have a right to material facts affecting investments. Chaos erupted as packets distributed. Shareholders shouted questions. Photographers flashed. Richard grabbed the mic. Family dispute, Jessica countered. Federal fraud. Listen to his July 4th taped confession. My phone played, Richard's voice boasting about the loans and relocating the land. Board members recoiled. The chairman suspended Richard immediately. Stock plunged 15% by close. Investors withdrew. Sophia burst in live streaming. Daddy. They say you stole from Alex. In that moment, Richard saw the charity case he tormented had orchestrated his ruin. The video spread virally. Harlan Development faced immediate collapse. 6 weeks later, the King County Courthouse felt like a battlefield. Media swarmed outside. Stepdaughter's revenge trended nationally. Richard hired a top defense firm, but evidence overwhelmed them. Jessica orchestrated the case masterfully. Trust fraud first. Projecting documents proving deliberate theft of my father's irrevocable trust property. The judge, a sharp woman named Elena Vargas, shut down technical guardianship arguments. Marrying the mother doesn't grant theft rights. Forensic testimony from Daniel detailed the identity theft web, brazen forgeries making me liable for millions in debt. Signature analysis drew gasps, insultingly obvious. Recordings played sequentially. The barbecue confession. Dinner admissions. Lawyer strategy emails about concealment. The most damning, Richard's recent boast that I'd never discover the land conversion before age 25. My testimony followed. Facing Richard, I described the dual theft, money and self-worth. He stole my father's gift while daily reminding me I was worthless, forcing minimum wage work for basics while profiting off my existence. Cross-examination tried painting me vindictive, but I countered calmly, hard to confront unknown crimes. Judge Vargas visibly reacted. After brief deliberation, Guilty on all counts: fraud, identity theft, fiduciary breach, conversion. Sentencing: full $11 million land restitution, $4.5 million damages for loans/identity theft, $2.8 million punitive for reprehensible conduct, plus fees. Richard permanently barred from corporate roles in Washington. Assets frozen. Richard broke. This destroys me. Judge Vargas replied coldly, "You destroyed yourself stealing from a grieving child."
Outside.
Media hounded him. My mother visited my apartment days later, pleading ignorance of the money but admitting awareness of the emotional abuse. I chose peace. I replied, "You sacrificed me for luxury." I ensured her legal minimum, but nothing more. Sophia confronted me next. World shattered. Followers gone. "You destroyed us." I corrected. "Your father built your life on my theft." She later changed her name and sought real work. Richard's final plea outside Jessica's office: "I justified it seeing your father in you. Wanted you to leave." I told him every future success would stand on his ruin. No forgiveness. But thank you for teaching self-reliance. The aftermath reshaped everything. Harlan development dissolved. The resort site reverted via conservation sale. Poetic justice restoring my father's coastal vision. I established the Alexandra Reed Foundation, using punitive damages. Funding scholarships for financial abuse survivors. Hired by a premier Seattle consulting firm valuing my strategic acumen. My MBA now carried real weight. Jessica became my closest confidant. We toasted over coffee as final papers closed. Richard began his 3-year sentence. My mother relocated quietly. Sophia's letter showed tentative growth. On my new balcony overlooking the Sound, formerly Sophia's penthouse, now mine after redecoration, I felt freedom for the first time in 14 years. No emptiness from revenge, only clarity.
Justice.
Served legally and publicly. Left Richard powerless. Mirroring my past but earned through his choices. I whispered to my father's photo. I fought smart.
Dad.
Got it all back. Hosting my first real dinner party months later, with study friends. Jessica. Daniel. Even my old professor who witnessed the humiliation. I raised a glass to strategy over cruelty. The professor admitted wishing he'd intervened but praised my patient evidence-based takedown as superior to any lecture. Alone later. City lights sparkling. I reflected. Revenge isn't cold. It's precise justice making crime synonymous with the perpetrator. At 24, with substantial settlement, thriving career, and rebuilt identity, my story begins anew. They tried tearing me down. I rose unburdened, proving merit and resilience prevail when backed by truth. What lingers is the moral question. How many families harbor silent thefts behind facades of provision? When loyalty fractures, does delayed justice heal or merely balance scales? My name is Alexandra Reed. No longer victim or stepdaughter, simply the woman who reclaimed her life.